going to start the garden show with the tips and plants of the week.
You betcha.
Well, my tip of the week is to browse through the seed catalogs to see what's new and exciting. And as you can see, folks, this is radio, not television, but I have in my hand a Stoke seed catalog, one of the premier seed catalog companies, started in 1881 in Canada. Canadian seed company that's really spread its wings into the States, too. Very popular in the States.
Yep.
So there you go, and we'll talk about that seed catalog through the show here. My plant of the week is another Christmas cactus, and this will be, I promise, the last Christmas cactus. I bought 3 Christmas cacti at Minter's on the way home from our wonderful trip to Seattle last year, and we're going to talk about that again today. And I bought 3 4-inch plants. That's 4-inch pot plants, right? The 10-centimeter plants. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because they came on 3. I put them into 6-inch pots in the greenhouse and grew them all year in the greenhouse. And then one came on in November. One came on in October. One came on in November. And this last one came on in December. Yeah. So it's just a constant river of Schlumbergia.
Yeah, and they're beautiful. Yeah. And the pictures you sent me were just fabulous. Unbelievable bloom on those things. Yep. All right, I also have a tip and a plant this week, and my tip of the week is that while the weather is nice, I mean, we're looking at another week of nice weather coming up here, it's a good time to get out and do your planning for next year. It gives you lots of time, no pressure. You can take your time to figure things out, take some pictures around the yard, and, the snow comes and goes. Right now it's on its way out. And you want to take some pictures and do a little bit of planning. And that way you can get a little bit of a head start this year and be ready to go when spring hits. My plant of the week this week is the perennial plant of the year for 2019, which is called Stachys humelo, which is a type of lamb's ears, actually. But this one isn't like regular lamb's ears, as you would know, as sort of that silvery, furry sort of leaf. These ones are just a green, beautiful leaf, and they have quite a nice, bright, sort of magenta pink bloom, and they bloom like crazy. They're just a really easy plant to grow and very, very reliable. So that's earned its place in the perennial plant of the year category, and so that's it for 2019 is Stachys humelo. And there you go. That's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check KelownaGardens.com.
Very good, Ken. A lot more of that sort of thing being planted in the gardens and in landscapes today. And I was just saying to Donna the other day when we were driving around, the whole focus has totally changed from our what was a traditional woody landscape to a herbaceous landscape.
Yeah.
One of the beauties of turning that way, in my mind, is the fact that you can change things around over a period of time. When you plant a Pfister juniper, and when you plant a Prunus cistina or a variegated dogwood, or the traditional ones we used to sell, woody plants, and plant them in masses and whatnot, you end up with quite a quagmire of root and whatnot underneath the land there. And that, when you go to make a change, and everybody likes to make a change, whether it be for practical purposes or just because you want to change the scenery, it's difficult, disruptive to the irrigation, disruptive to everything else around it. Whereas with herbaceous plants, you can make that change without a great deal of difficulty.
Well, I love the what I call a dynamic garden, and that's a garden it's constantly fluid. It's not always the same year after year after year. It's changes a little bit every year. As you learn your plants, you try a few plants, you try them out, you watch them grow, you enjoy them. And some plants, you just don't enjoy them after a while. So it doesn't mean that you actually take them out, but they have their timing. So you start to group them together in groups that all bloom at the same time. So a garden having that fluidity, it evolves over time. It's the dynamic garden, and that's what I really like. And that's when it comes to perennials. That's what you have, like you say, with shrubbery. If they're planted in the right place, you don't have to do so much with them. But it's a static arrangement. It's static. Yeah. How many? Just people who have houses, right? If you go inside of your house and you're wandering around, living there for a couple of years, you rearrange it, right, from time to time.
Right.
Move the couch over here, move the coffee table, put some new plants in, change the pictures around. Like you're doing things to kind of to just to make it a little bit different or try something new. And I think in the garden, that's what you should be doing.
Well, there was a time when shrubs were the dominant factor. Now, there's still a place for them. It's not like you don't use shrubs. There's beautiful new introductions that are quite, small in stature compared to what the older ones used to do and want to do. So you can choose shrubs for smaller areas that are going to be sustainable there. However, they are used more as focal points and as anchors, and where is your, as you say that, there's so much you can do in the gardens nowadays with the myriad of herbaceous plants out there. Now today, Ken, I just want to mention, most people have heard this in the newspaper and wherever, but we are focusing our healing thoughts for Charlie Hodge, our warrior Charlie. He's in the hospital right now, and Facebook is literally lit up with thoughts and prayers for him. And story on the front page of the Courier, Charlie's one tough cookie, and I'm sure with the help of our caregivers at KGH, we're confident he'll be out fighting on city council soon again. But anyway, keep your thoughts for Charlie. This show's for Charlie. And as we move forward here, I want to tell you something, Ken, that well, maybe I'll wait till after the break. It's about technology. Technology is actually, we've got a little time here. My watch is off, but this clock on the computer is right on the nose. Okay, so I've got an iPhone, and there's a thing called the iCloud, and I'm part of that now. I'm part of the iCloud. Okay,
right.
So Donna and I were looking. I think it was on Facebook or something on my phone, and all of a sudden, no, it was on our iPad, and all of us, iPad connected, and all of a sudden, these collages of photographs that I hadn't put onto Facebook. These are photographs of me working in my workshop, and I've got making tools, making stuff, and just randomly chosen from my phone pictures. Scary. And they had music behind it, and they were opening up and there was movies on there. And all it is that I'm on iCloud now, and it loads it up to iCloud, and all of a sudden now I've got this. Somebody, some guru or somebody up there is, So I'm just wondering, Ken, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I know that I'm not an Apple person or a Mac person, even though I do appreciate it, and I've had Mac computers and whatnot in the past. They just have their own setup, and that's an automated system that uploads all of your pictures and photos and videos and stuff. So it's stored on the cloud. And in theory, nobody can see those unless you okay it. So even though it will show you, hey, this is for you. So it knows these are all the pictures, and it's saving them in case you lose your phone. Because you've done that in the past, right?
I know. That's why I got into the
iCloud. But the theory is that nobody can see those pictures and stuff unless you okay it. Just like on Facebook, you can okay who sees your account and who doesn't. But so then it will create these slideshows and stuff for you, and you have to decide whether you like them or you want to have them made public, or you just say, oh, great, thanks, or you save them as a, because it does it automatically. They're just
it's not some person in there.
No, I don't think so. I think it's all just mechanical. It's artificial intelligence. So I don't do that. I don't have any of my stuff like that on the cloud. I'm just kind of concerned that
well, I got nothing. I got nothing to hide. But
no,
these were
personal stuff, right?
Well, these were pictures of. These are pictures of in my workshop when I'm making stuff. I'll take pictures of it, like a little washer. Oh, I made that washer on the lathe, and nice. And I take a picture of it, for my own. And all of a sudden, this whole collage of these pictures show up. Anyway,
it's just your pictures. I think a way to look at it is if you wanted to, if you had a computer and you wanted to just see all your pictures, you could click a button and it would run as a screensaver. It would run all of your pictures, and it would just constantly run them on your computer for you as a screensaver.
Next question, Ken.
which is not bad.
How does this pertain to gardening?
Well, because we're taking pictures of thousands and thousands of plants every day. It's like
Okay.
it's a easy. Yeah, that's basically what it is. I think as plant people, we have a huge population of plant stuff.
I think so. It's all wonderful, but I have this saying now. I got it from my friend Bill Campbell in Toronto. I hate technology. Anyway, we're going.
It's a mystery.
We're going to take a short break. We invite your calls 250-862-2525 on a brand new year. Ken, we're in our 104th show today, 1004th show on this station. Very proud of that. We had a great celebration before Christmas, and we'll talk about how Christmas went and, that kind of stuff. And we'll invite your calls, 250-862-2525. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. You betcha. We're here. We've just come back from a one-day break. We had, it was recorded. I actually listened to our garden show last Saturday morning for a little bit. Yeah, it was recorded and they put it on. It was very nice. But we had a wonderful Christmas, Ken, and we had our entire family together. Our son Joe was home again from Vancouver. He's doing very, very well down there. He's working in IT, and he creates apps. He makes apps. You know, the apps you have on your phone, he makes them.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, he's been working for BC Hydro. He's been projects. He's been working for a Cancer Institute in Boston, doing some app work for them. And it's really, really quite cool how he has developed this. Well, he's always had this talent, but it's developed into something that's really worthwhile. And he was home, and Lisa and Bree and Lindsay and Ellie, we were all together. It was nice. It was a really good Christmas. We were very, very thankful to be all together. And now all the kids are up at Big White this weekend.
Oh, good.
Having a little ski and a snowboarding and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of beyond that. I never did embrace skiing. Did you? Would you really embrace it?
I've embraced it sort of more like more like a car accident, sort of, more than anything.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know how many times I ended up either in the waiting room at the hospital or.
Wow. Well, and I was always envious. I'd be up there freezing and shivering and trying to negotiate down the hill, and I'd see these guys whipping by and just leaning forward and just gracefully going down the hill. And I said, where do you find that? I can see you're having fun, but the reason I was up there was because the kids wanted to ski. So I got them skiing, and maybe I should have taken a lesson or something, but I just couldn't embrace it. But the kids sure did, and they're all up there boarding. And you ever tried boarding? Have you ever been on a board? A snowboard?
No.
Well, me neither.
No. Too dangerous.
Went on a skateboard once, and I broke my watch and almost broke my wrist because I slammed my whole arm down on the thing. But my watch was shattered on the pavement in our parking lot at Burnett's there. Yeah. One and only time I went on a skateboard, and that was it. I was on the ground. Yeah,
skateboards are a little sketchy for sure. When I was a kid, they just sort of, as far as I knew, skateboards were just getting popular. And that would have been probably in the mid-'70s sort of thing. And we had funny little skateboards, and they were great. And they weren't like the ones today that are all fancy-dancy, but they were just equally as dangerous, though, because, you always had to go to the big hill and see what would happen if you went down a big hill on a skateboard, and it usually doesn't end well because there's no brakes.
There's no brakes. That's the thing. The brakes are your feet, and you better
your
have
face,
big, thick soles because it just wears through pretty quick. February 21st, Ken, 4 days. We want to get the word out.
Yep.
If you have friends that want to go on this thing, because you got to get on, you got to phone the folks at Sun Fun Tours right away, because the bus will fill up and you will be left at home.
Right.
Wishing that you were at the flower show.
I imagine that they're starting to get full. I imagine it should be getting close.
The Northwest Flower and Garden Festival or Garden Show, Don Burnett and Ken Salvail, yours truly and Ken, are hosting this. It's something we do every year. The show's been going on for, almost 3 decades. Started in the late 80s. And it is the second largest flower and garden show in North America. Now, I don't want the flower and garden show to title to scare you, because it isn't just for people that are totally into their gardens. Everybody's into beauty. Everybody's into a break in the middle of the winter. It's a reasonably priced trip. 4 days. You get 3 nights at the hotel. You get 2 full days tickets at the show. You're right downtown Seattle, so there's all sorts of things you can sort of see on the side. It's just a great trip. And then, of course, on the way back, we stop in and see Brian Minter at the Country Gardens and have a nice lunch there in his restaurant and cafe. And of course, he gives us a nice chat. And there you can really gorge on plant material. And it's later this year, so the plant material is going to be a little bit more readily available. Quite often, it's early February. The show is on. This year, it's on the 21st, which is considered, a little bit later. And so if you want to get on board with Ken and I on the bus to Seattle on the 21st of February, you want to phone Sun Fun Tours. And Sun Fun Tours, 250-763-6133. Or you can always contact Ken or myself, and we will give you the directions on how to get through there to Sun Fun Tours to get that ticket on the bus. And great for couples, great for 2 friends. If you got a friend that wants to go with you, that's always good as well. And we've had dozens, hundreds of people join us over the last 15 years on this trip. And most, in fact, I would suggest all, have said it is a wonderful trip. It's wonderful for us. I wouldn't keep doing this if it wasn't something that I never tire of. I really enjoy the trip.
Yeah, and there's so much more, like you say, than the gardening aspect of it. It's a lot about art. All kinds of art. Everything from paintings to metalwork to wood carving and sculptures, and it's vast, the amount of stuff that you get to see, and a lot of it is available to purchase too, which is nice. Because you get to see some of the cool things that people have created, and then if you really, really like it, you can bring it home with you. So it's kind of a fun trip. Plus the plant, you can buy plants, of course, and seeds. And
you have to know what you're doing when you're buying that, and we can help you with that. We can help you through that.
Yeah, that's not too bad. But I really like the bulb selections and the seed selections, the huge seed racks from some of those companies. And I'm sure you can buy stuff online and all that. But it's just something about going and browsing through the masses of seed packages and all the unusual species that they have, and it's great. Pretty cool. One
of the booths that there's a couple that do this that I really have enjoyed over the years, and quite reasonably priced for what you're getting, are the antique tools and antique little carts and antique things that they get in from Europe. The rakes and things. Yeah, and they're for real. And some of them are from Europe. Some of them are from China. Yep. And they're 100 years old. A fork, a wooden pitch fork that's 100 years old. What a decorative thing. Our good friend Don Ramponi, he's picked up on a few of those I've noticed over the years, and there's always something unique that you can pick up and have in your garden that you just don't see in the garden centers here, or the shops, or the box stores, or whatever.
Because those are antiques, right?
Well, they are antiques. They're the real deal.
And what is also cool is, like, for people who are doing renovations and whatnot, is that they have those whole sections of the show that are just it's like they're antique or close to antique, assorted house bits, like what you would find in an antique shop or in a reclamation shop. So where they'd have really old doors and old window frames, and they would have and one thing that I really liked was the old bird cages. Now there was that one booth particularly that had about 4 beautiful, and I'm talking big, like they're 4 feet across and 5 feet high, with all these multiple. It's just as fascinating to see such a thing, and it's whether you put anything in it or not. It's just it's like an antique. It's just a really cool thing.
Well, I mean, if anybody's watched Canadian Pickers or the American Pickers shows, there's a whole section at the Northwest Flower and Garden Show that you'd swear you were on TV doing, looking at these collections from the American Pickers. And, old signs, old SO signs, and old things to do with automobiles and sewing and pretty cool. Even if you don't buy anything, walking through these things and looking at this stuff, it's kind of, and you always hear, somebody say, "Oh man, we had one of those. We had one of those. Threw it in the garbage. And now they're selling it for $40. It's quite the show. And of course, then there's the wonderful seminars that you can attend.
Yeah,
the various speakers from all over the world, all over North America, and they really pick and choose who's going to come and speak, and it's different every year. So if you were at the show 2 years ago, big chance that you're not going to see the same speakers that were there 2 years ago. Although some people are quite repeated. They repeat some of them that are really, really good. They're all good, mind you. And there's lots to eat at the show too. I mean, there's lots of food stations. That's an improvement over 10 years ago. Yeah. 10 years ago, there was some hot dogs and corn dogs and a few things like that. But now they've got some pretty nice stuff. There's areas where there's sushi and
several. They've got
places,
several spots you can eat, and they're open all day, so you can just wander in at any time.
And
I really, really enjoyed it. And a lot of it is very healthy food too, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that's a switch. We're going to take a short break. We invite your calls 250-862-2525. We're easy to talk to. It's the first of the year. We've got gardening ahead of us. We always are in denial in the fall, saying this is our favorite time of the year. Well, yeah, it is because we're there. But I'll tell you, coming up is our favorite time of the year, and that's spring. And we'll get into that when we come back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We are back with you, and we were just talking about the Northwest Flower and Garden Show. Ken and I love going there. It's just kind of as you can probably tell. But we love to have you along with us because, not only the show itself is fun, but just the ride down. It goes so quickly because we're having so much fun. We're all anticipating their time at the show. And usually, the bus is usually about 50-50, brand new people and people that have been on the strip before. So, join us.
It works well because then the people who've been there before kind of act as mini guides. Because the whole thing, you're on your own once you get there. You can just wander around, and it is a huge show. But because there's people there that you get to know that are people from the bus, a lot of them know what to do, where to go, where to find the seminars and whatnot. So it's a fun trip.
So, Ken, I'm looking through the Stokes seed catalog. It's an easy. Once you order from Stokes once, you always get the thing. Well, maybe that Peter's. It's an expensive seed catalog, nice colored seed catalog.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And once you order, I put an order in last year. I hadn't ordered from Stokes for years, and we used to spend thousands and thousands of dollars with them every year when we had the nursery. It was one of our major suppliers. Dominion was another one, and that's another Canadian seed house back east that's very popular. And we could get certain things from Dominion that we couldn't get from Stokes and vice versa. And, of course, then you have your local guys, the Pacific Northwest Seed Company, and lots of different smaller seed companies, houses that put out catalogs. Some of them, are sort of focusing on more what they would refer to as organic kind of supplies and whatnot. So there's all sorts of choices out there, and this is the time of the year where you want to sit down and look at them. And I was looking through the Stokes seed catalog the other day because I want to get some Kelsey onions, but Kelsey's been dropped, and it's Elsa Craig that is now the new Kelsey, Elsa Craig. And they're talking Elsa Craig. Elsa Craig, they call it 110 days. I guess that's 110 days from seed. Yeah. I'll be planting my seed fairly quickly here, the onion seed. But the Kelsey Sweet Giant, it replaces Kelsey Sweet Giant with a similar sister line. Huge, mild Spanish with the same color, size, and unique sweet flavor. Bulbs average 5 pounds, 2.4 kilograms for September harvest from transplants. 5 pounds per onion.
Yeah.
Short-term storage. They don't last a long time. But I know a gentleman that would argue about the short-term storage.
Yeah.
This is my good friend Reg Huebner. And Reg stores his Kelseys, and Elsa Craig would be the same thing. He has a way of curing them. And literally at Christmas, we were visiting at Christmas, or just before Christmas. And
he still had some.
Yeah, he gave us 3 of these, and they were just in beautiful shape still.
Wow.
So they may not store all through the winter. They may not be good in May or whatever, but the one that, if you want to have a storage onion, you get the Stuttgart set in the spring, the little onion bulbs. You put those in. Those are good storage onions.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm going to order some of these Elsa Craigs, and they're really not too expensive. I mean, they're if you're buying 500,000 seeds,
500,000.
they're $1.37 per thousand. If you're buying 500,000,
right?
If you're going to buy one packet of 300 seeds, it's $2.70.
$270.
$2.70.
No, that's way more reasonable.
300 seeds. 300 seeds for $2.70. 1,000 seeds for $4.08. So I'm probably going to bring in 1,000 seeds, because what I like to do is have some nice seedlings ready for the Kelowna Garden Club plant sale in May. May, or I guess it's in May or late April. And we'll have to get that off. We're going to Holland in April, late April. So I'll have to get you to look after the greenhouse for me. Yeah, right. No.
Well, you never know.
Donnie does a pretty good job. He pops in every day.
Yeah, he must enjoy that too, eh? Just like the old days, but in a miniature
scale.
scale.
Oh, yeah, he just loves that. Yeah. Still having issues with something going on in that greenhouse, Ken. And I'd like to pick your brains on it too. I don't know what's going on.
You think it's an animal, or do you think it's a
No, it's something environmentally in the greenhouse.
And
I've got gas heat in there, and I'm wondering whether that's. Remember that time in the greenhouses back in the day? Number one house, we had the big overhead heater.
Yeah.
Number one. And we had plants in that neck of the woods of the greenhouse, and that end of the greenhouse, doing funny things. You could tell there was some kind of toxin or something going on. And we found out that the exhaust fan that took the exhaust from that furnace was all corroded and rusted and had holes in it. And it was, and I actually, Greg Cooper and I built a new thing for that unit. And that stopped the problem right away. So it was, and I'm just wondering whether my little gas heater is putting something out that's causing some issues. Not with all the plants. Tomatoes are very much affected. Sansevieria, no problem. Snake plants, and some of my cardboard palms, my cycads, they're fine.
Well, couldn't you pick up one of those sensors?
I'm going to
like
look
a carbon
into that.
monoxide sensor or something, and see if you can just plug it in right there and see what's going on. Maybe that would help.
I'm going to find out. I'm going to get this, because everything should be growing so lush and beautifully in there. I've got it. It's a well-equipped greenhouse. So in the Stokes catalog, of course, the onions are there, but there's all sorts of choices for cucumbers. I still highly recommend Comete, the Comete greenhouse cucumber. Oh my goodness, it was so productive and so sweet. Are you going
to get some more seeds?
I've got seeds. Oh,
you already have
I'll get
some?
you a plant. I'll get you a plant.
Oh, cool.
No problem there.
That would be awesome.
They were $45 for 25 seeds. Yeah. So I'm only charging you $10
$10 a plant. That's what I was going to say. That sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah. They got yellow we call it cheddar cauliflower. Cheddar cauliflower. It's yellow.
Yeah, it's a sort of orangey color.
Orangey, yeah.
Orangey yellow, yeah.
All sorts of stuff in it. So I'm having fun going through the seed catalog, and of course you have to be careful. The one recommendation I have is never, ever order seeds when you're hungry. Because you're going to end up...
It's like going shopping when you're hungry.
You got a garden 20 by 40, and you order enough seeds to plant 2 acres. And then you're stuck. What am I going to do with all these seeds?
Yeah, and then you end up giving them away or putting them into storage, and then your seed collection is like, I know I have a huge seed collection. I'm sure you do.
I do, and I'm going to diminish that. I'm going to. Why do I have all these seeds? I'm not using them. Do some germination testing for one thing on some that I'm never going to use. I don't out the door. I don't need them. They're just saving them for nothing. I'm getting vicious in my old age, Ken.
Maybe you should just make a little bin and just put all the seed that you have and plant it all into that bin. Just don't care what it is. Don't care where it goes. Just fill the whole thing. Put all the seed in there and bury it.
That'd be fun.
Just lightly, and then see what happens.
Fun to do. Yeah.
See what happens. You'd end up with definitely a nice little salad bar there.
Well, I must say, one thing that is really, really cool this year is this mild winter. It's not that cool. It's quite warm, actually. It's very warm. It has been one of those winters we get periodically, We've had them. I remember back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, we've always had a winter. Now, I'm saying that, touching wood, because it could turn on us.
Oh, yeah.
It could turn very quickly.
I think it will, inevitably, I would say. Because usually if it starts out, mild.
You haven't been the best at predicting weather, though.
Oh, I would say I have been right on the money, I would say. Yeah, according to my records.
My records are proving that to be wrong. I've heard you say it's going to freeze next week or
oh, yeah, that was once, what was that, 1987 or something? I said that, yeah.
Way back, yeah. Well, Ken, we're going to take a short break because that's what we do at this point in time. We invite your calls, 250-862-2525. When we come back, I want to talk about a book. I'm going to have, years ago, I did this old book of the week, right?
Right.
Because I've got a collection of old gardening books, crazy collection. Probably not enough to fill a year of old gardening books. That would mean 48 weeks or whatever there are in a year, 52, whatever. Quite a few weeks, anyway.
Yeah, for us, 51 for us, I think.
Yeah. So I'm not going to suggest we're going to have one every week, but it's I'll bring today's old book of the week up when we come back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Well, Ken, not that it matters, but we're going to probably break a record here because that was the first show of the year. But this will be the first time, I think, we've gone for half a show without somebody calling into the garden show. Now, what's with that? Well, are your radios broken?
They're out there. Okay. They're just trying to come up with something to ask because, there's not a lot going on right now.
I think they're confused.
It could be.
It's too warm to be January.
Maybe.
I mean, I almost came without a coat today.
It's really beautiful out there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And this would be an ideal time to grow some peas. Start some peas early.
Oh, sure.
This is a perfect year to get your peas in.
Yeah, I wonder what'll
get
happen.
them out there.
I should go out and have a look because I had those peas coming up in the fall, right? Know. But they were already up 3 inches.
They're going to be fine.
Really? I'll go look.
You predict the weather. I'll predict the peas, okay?
Okay.
Amazing. 250-862-2525 to get through to us today. We're having a good time. This is the first show of the year, and, there's nothing like enjoying each other's company after not seeing each other for 2 weeks. I haven't seen you for 2 weeks, Ken. We didn't get together over Christmas. Both of us very tied up, but we will get together.
Yeah, very soon. It's coming.
Oh, look at that. Can't break any records. We got Larry on line 2. Good morning, Larry.
I got tired of listening to you whine about no phone calls there, so I thought I'd be your first of the year.
Hey, how are you doing? It's the real Larry.
It's the real
one. Way to go, man.
A very unusual Saturday off today, so I got to sit here and listen in. And
you don't like the whining.
Better phone and let you know I'm still alive.
Well, I'm glad you did. Larry, we had a long history together, and it continues because I love seeing your Facebook stuff. You are one avid fisherman, aren't you? I
am. Yeah, just like you, Don.
Yep.
We love to get out there and flip those flies.
And you are at your, well, it's like you're in heaven when you're up there. It seems.
Oh yeah.
Looking at the loon and looking at this and that. It's great. I love to see that. The other thing you're passionate about are the Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
And those boys, they work hard. They are just as good a hockey that you can imagine in Kelowna is the West Side Warriors. I mean, it really is good hockey. I haven't had a chance.
We're in a bit of a struggle right now. We're going through the same thing, but I think if people realized, like you said, how good our hockey is, they would come out.
Yeah, I believe so. Ken is the hockey guy. Okay. Ken, you talk hockey. Ken, I played hockey when I was young. I'm a Canadian, so I played hockey. It was rite of passage. You couldn't get by not playing hockey, right? And Larry, I was. Can you imagine? I was a Pee Wee All-Star goalie.
Whoa! Why doesn't that surprise me that you were a goalie?
Because I can't skate very well.
Goalies are always the oddballs of the team.
No, I could skate, but I did like being a goalie, and I was actually there was times when they couldn't get it past me, and then there was other times where I couldn't stop a thing. It's a head trip. It's something in your head. I'd see a guy rushing me, and I go, "Uh-oh, goal coming." I knew it. And yet other times I was on the ball and I was able to bang it away. Larry, great for you to call in. And Ken and I wish you a very happy New Year and all the best. I know you're with Home Depot. Home Depot.
Yeah. We're in the garden center there.
Yeah. And if you want to see Larry and have a chat, you're in the garden center part, eh?
Oh, you bet. Yeah. And I have to say, Melissa was so excited. She called me right away after she saw you at the airport.
Oh, I know. She had to tell me who she was.
Yeah,
she's grown up. She's grown up, Larry.
Yeah.
She's not my little elf anymore.
I know.
You bet.
Scary how fast it's happening, eh?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, Larry,
you guys have a great year.
Yeah.
I am listening
Thank you, buddy.
when I get the chance, and always enjoy it.
Well, if we know you're listening, we'll clean it up.
Super.
Okay, take care.
Happy New Year, boys.
Yep.
Thanks, Larry.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Happy New Year.
And we have Josephine. Good morning, Josephine.
Good morning. Happy New Year. I heard you whining also, and I was going to phone you on the last show before Christmas, but it was just so busy. I missed you, but I certainly thank you. But the reason I wanted to phone is I wanted to encourage people to go on your garden tour, because I did it. It was a dream of mine to do it, and the Americans we had so much fun. It was just the most amazing trip that I've ever been on.
Well, thank you, Josephine. And I just feel that every year. I just enjoy the darn trip so much. I never tire of it. The show is different every year. It's not the same show. This year it's all about gardens. The theme, they always have a theme. And this year it's Gardens of the World. So there's going to be a representation of all the different botanical gardens around the world. So, yeah.
Wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to do. So thank you and have a good year, and I'm glad you're still on.
All the best, Josephine. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Yep.
Happy
Bye-bye
New
now.
Year. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's good. Josephine, great gal.
Mm-hmm.
And, so where are we going from here, Ken? Have you got something planned? We got about 4 minutes left on the show. We might have a caller coming in, which is fine. There's 3 calls. So we didn't break a record of no calls for the first hour.
Half of the show.
First half of the show, right?
Well, it's early, and I'm sure that, the gardening thing seems to have quietened down a little bit, but I think gardeners just go steady.
Yeah.
As far as I know, everybody that I know that's into the garden, they're going online, and that's the one thing nice having the internet for people who do, and they definitely there's so much to read up on, and
we could talk about that though, because it's not all true. There's some fake
right.
news on that. I'll tell you.
That's right.
Rick is on line 2. Good morning, Rick.
Morning, fellas. Don, Ken.
Hey, Rick.
Question for you. For the last couple of years, with the exception of last year, I had the people come and put fertilizer on at the end of the season for next year.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to put fertilizer, which I do I wait till the ground is thawed and everything is fine, or can I put it on now and it'll absorb when it warms up?
I think there's merit in getting it on now, isn't it, Ken? I mean, it's not going to. The nitrogen won't work at this point in time, but
it won't. Generally, they won't release anything until it gets closer to spring, until the temperatures.
Yeah, because they were putting a liquid fertilizer on. I forget when it was, September, October.
Yep.
Come and spray it and leave it all winter. So
the only thing you don't want to do is put on products that might leach away, like where they're just going to wash away and go into the water system or something.
Would I get crystals in rather than fluid? So the
granular.
Well, yeah, the granular is going to be longer lasting than any liquid. However, there's one step further you can take, and that is the slow releasing granular fertilizer. When the nitrogen is slow releasing, and it kind of sits there until the weather warms up, and then it gradually releases there, and it doesn't leach away, like Ken said.
Yeah, I would just say that there wouldn't be really any reason to put it on right now. Like putting on in the fall is a different thing because the plants will actually absorb some of the nutrient that is released at the end of the season, and they'll store it in their root system. And then when they go dormant, which now they're dormant, they'll just hold on to that nutrient through the winter, and then in the spring they get a little kick that gets them going in the spring. And if you can head them off in the spring,
I realize it's a difficult question, but when would you put it on then? And I don't mind waiting, but when would you put it on? Once we get into March or something like that?
Yeah, middle to the end of March is usually
middle
good.
to the end. Then everything's softened up and starting to grow a little bit.
Yeah, and it's weather dependent. I mean, you never know what you're going to get in March, and when you have a mild winter, it could be kind of severe. So I would just watch the weather and put it down whenever you have time, approximately mid-March.
Perfect. Okay, well, hey, Happy New Year to you fellas.
All the best to you.
Happy New Year.
Yep, and we'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
Betcha. Thank you, sir.
Right. Thanks for calling.
And on that note, we are right at the top of the hour, and we're going to take the break for the news. Give us a call when we come back, 250-862-2525. Ken and I will carry on. I'm going to bring up my old book of the week. We'll have chats about what we're seeing in the gardens, and I'll talk a little bit about what's going on in my greenhouse. When we come back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Well, after my Grandma Henderson passed away, or actually after she moved from her home for her house on Sutherland and moved into Joseph Benjamin residence, which was right adjacent to Stillwater's on Sutherland. So that's interesting. She went from one end of Sutherland to the other. I just never thought of that. Anyway, she's at Joseph Benjamin, but of course you can't take everything with you when you move into a home like that. And so I just got all her old books. I couldn't stand seeing these books getting, the idea they were being thrown out. All these ancient books of hers.
Oh yeah.
So I've got all her Shakespeare collection. I've got her Robbie Burns books of poetry. I've got all sorts of things, and I've got all her school books on history and various things. And my book of the week this week is the book of Elementary Botany with Appendix, and it was written by Groom and Penhallow. And it was published in 1899, the book of biology or botany. And so it's explaining all the aspects of plant life and whatnot. It's a pretty heavy-duty book. It's got it's a textbook, and it has a couple of hundred pages. Yeah, a couple of hundred pages. And in the front is such a nice thing. It's got my grandma's writing, her name, Helen Revere Peck.
Nice.
So it was, she was Helen Revere Peck until she married my grandfather, Lee Henderson. And Lee Becker Eskrig Henderson. Mm-hmm. So now she's Helen Revere Henderson. Initials HRH, Her Royal Highness. We used to laugh. We'd call her Her Royal Highness, HRH. It's like HRH, Queen Elizabeth. Same idea. So my grandmother, born in 1889. 1889 she was born. And, she died in 1977, something like that. Mm-hmm. No, she might have been born in about 1887. Because here she is. If she was born in 1889, this is an 1899 book. She was only 10 years old when she had this book, so she must have been a little bit older. Mind you,
she might have received it.
That's right. The book was written in 1899, but she was probably reading it and studying it in the early 1900s. Yeah. Very cool. And so it's very cool that my Auntie Kay is still with us. Auntie Kay, 97 years old, I believe, this year. And my cousin, Alice Strauch, 100 this year.
Yeah,
It's strong.
phenomenal.
Yeah, strong. And Alice Strauch, of course, is my father's side of the family. My dad's mother's brother's daughter is Alice Strauch. And so she is my first cousin, once removed. Because one generation difference. So it's first cousin, once removed. Lots of fun. I'm enjoying my family, enjoying our Christmas time with the family, and we've got a new year coming up, 2019. 2019.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we have a really good year, and the weather's not too crazy, and so far it's a little unusual having this warm weather. I don't think it's going to have any adverse effects on things. It might be easier around things. It's just the rats.
Rats and spotted winged Drosophila.
Yeah.
Spotted winged Drosophila and rats. Those
Scale
are the two
insects
things.
And spider mites and spruce budworm and pine beetles and all those wonderful insects that just love to survive winters, and they love the mild winters.
This is why, coming up, folks, not yet, don't pull the trigger yet, but coming up, this dormant oil lime sulfur spray 2 or 3 times in the spring is a darn good way for scale insects, spider mites, aphids, overwintering leaf roller, egg masses, that sort of thing. It's not going to do anything for cherry fruit fly. It's not going to do anything for spotted winged Drosophila. It's not going to do anything for some of these things, and it certainly won't do anything for the rats. But it is definitely going to do something for a lot of things. So keep that in mind, the dormant oil lime sulfur. And Ken and I will keep you up to date on the timing for that. Certainly in early, if the weather stays quite mild like this, and if it gets wet, then we're going to have peach leaf curl problems. Very little peach leaf curl last year in my tree.
Yeah.
It was a good year for peach leaf curl.
Yeah,
really,
I don't think it was
very little
bad season. No, we had a few years ago. We had some really, really severe issues, and it's all temperature related. It's all humidity. When it comes to fungus diseases,
they can't grow peaches down the coast. They
can't
grow.
They have their varieties.
They go up against. They espalier them up against the wall undercover so they don't get rained on.
Yeah, and depending where you live, there's some places where it's sort of a microclimate, and if you have a good season, you can have half decent peaches. But I think it's just such a different climate. The Okanagan typically has a more defined starting of spring and ending of the season. So it's something that when you have a really mild start, as things bud prematurely and they start to bloom, and then all of a sudden, bam, they get frosted at night, and you lose your crop. So that's more the issue that we would normally not have, but they can have in other areas. But you never know what you're going to get now. Every year is completely different, and as it always is. But you're subject to the weather conditions. That's just the way it is.
Well, I've been working on Elaine Cameron's diary again for this year. I want to bring up one of the years. Well, I'm doing 1952 this year.
Oh, okay.
Is it 1952 or 51? I'm just working on. Anyway, that particular year, Elaine Cameron didn't start until March. So it must have been a long, drawn-out affair. The winter of that night. I'm just gonna go into her diary here because, I've skipped a few years. I have her diaries from 1949 to 1977. And 49 we've talked about. We did this year. We did 1950, which was the year I was born. And I believe I'm going to the next year. I'm going to write up, and I take her handwritten diary. I've got copies of her handwritten diary, and I have to struggle through some of the writing because it's kind of the old British type of style writing. And I'm transferring it to a Word document. So I believe I'm doing that because we did 1951 as well. We did that on the radio, but I'm just scrolling through here. I think it's 1952 where she starts in March, and yes, it did. Her diary in 1952 didn't start till March the 6th. So she went through one of those years where we had a very cold January, cold February, and March the 6th, she it was fascinating because I'm going through this, and we'll do more of it. But March the 6th, she first words out of her mouth or on her diary that year was raked some manure. Raked some manure, cut off the lilac blossoms in the shrubbery, and hauled out the artichokes. Snowdrops have been in bloom for 3 weeks. That was March the 6th, 1952.
Wow.
Hard frost at nights. And she cut out some acacia by the birch trees. She had a bonfire, raked some more manure, and hauled wood, more snowdrops and crocus showing through. That was March the 7th, 1952. But the interesting thing is, we're all the way through March, and I was doing this last night, copying from the handwritten diary to the Word document. All the way through, she rake more manure. March 8th, rake manure. All through, she's raking manure. Ken, they put manure on the lawn in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And then now she's raking it off the lawn and putting it onto shrub beds.
Interesting.
So I guess the leachate or something did something nice for the lawn. I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm sure it fed the lawn. And, anytime you add that sort of liquid compost to any soils, it definitely improves the soil.
Anyway, all of what I was laughing about is started March the 6th and goes through March 8th, March 9th, 11th, 12th. And just about every day she's raking manure. And March the 25th, she's got new rake. She must have worn Elaine Cameron wearing out a rake every year, probably. Yeah, cool. So anyway, we're going to go through the 1952 year with Elaine Cameron. Every week I'll have a new thing, but that's starting in March because she didn't start till March, so we've got a couple of months before we get into that. Mm-hmm. Elaine Cameron's diary, too much. I really have enjoyed reading
last
those.
year we were doing 1950.
Yeah,
right?
1950. Yeah.
And so when we left off, it was January the 1st or something of would have been 1951. And weather was mild.
Oh, it was.
It's sort of similar to what it is
similar,
now.
Yeah. We could do a couple of 51s, but I've already a few years ago did 1951 of her diary. But we could do that too.
It was just interesting because the weather was so similar to what it was this year.
Yeah. Well, that's right. And maybe we'll just have a quick peek at that because that is kind of fascinating when you see a similar year to what we're having.
And she's out gardening like every day as usual.
Yeah.
right up as long as she can garden, she's out gardening.
And she had the little greenhouse too. So we talked about that. So 1951, January 1st, cut off the ribbon grass and sweet clover and hauled out the artichoke tops. She didn't do that till March in 52. So in January 1st, 51, New Year's Day, she's out there cutting the tops off by the big fir tree and had a bonfire, mild and sunny. January 1st, 1951. And cut off the seed pods. All these things she's doing in January 1st, 1951. In 1952, she wasn't doing them till March. So that tells you that the cold weather hung on there. And then March the 1st here came up. March the 1st, it says cold. Cut off catmint from the rockery top and raked manure there. Raking manure all the time, that girl. Mm-hmm. Lots of manure being raked. Tidied on rockling. So it's fascinating. I love reading this diary.
Do you know what type of manure she used? Like, where did that come from?
Well, it was a cattle ranch.
So it was like steer manure.
It'd be steer manure, yeah. Well, heifer too. It was heifer.
Right.
I used to get people asking me that, into the garden center. They'd come into the garden center and says, "This is steer manure?" I says, "Yes." And they said, "Are you sure? There's no heifer in there? Just all steer?" I said, "Well, I'm not sure. Let's have a look." No, it's all steer. But no, it's good. The bagged steer manure is good. Just be careful. Ken and we've talked about this issue with manure. And, of course, it wasn't an issue back in Elaine Cameron's time because I don't think the product was available for folks. But a lot of farmers now on their hay fields use a product called Grazon. And it has a chemical in there, an ingredient that will kill broadleaf weeds, but it won't kill the grasses.
Right.
And so...
And it's not toxic to horses.
And it's not toxic to horses or cows. They can eat it. Doesn't hurt them. goes right through. But when you take that manure that's gone through the system there, and you use it on your garden, you are now putting a herbicide on your garden.
Yeah,
and
we've seen that so many times. And I remember back, years and years ago, or back, right when I started at Burnett's in the mid '80s or late '80s, I recall people bringing in samples of their garden, and it was like herbicide damage.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, like, how could this be? And then right away, the scientific mind is saying, well, what species does it affect, right? Mm-hmm. It's blanketing like a whole bunch of different unrelated species. So it's not a disease. Yeah. No, diseases are sort of species specific, right?
Yeah.
So most of them are, but, it's just an interesting thing.
It is. We're going to invite your calls again, 250-862-2525. I'm not going to plead. I'm just going to invite your calls. Casually invite your calls. 250-862-2525. Not that we need you. We don't need you. Ken and I can just talk for the entire 2 hours and not need you. But it's always nice to have you with us, and we appreciate that. And we're going to take a short break and wait for your calls. 250-862-2525. We'll be back with more. Hey, we're going to Seattle. No, we are in February, not tomorrow. We're not going tomorrow, but we're going in February. So again, just remember that we are excited about the Northwest Flower and Garden Show. Always are at this time of year. It gets kind of going. We start talking about this in October, because the date gets set and everything. Mm-hmm. And, it takes till after Christmas for people to kind of, say, oh, okay. And so now they're starting to phone and get on board. And we just love to see it, to have you with us. It's too much fun. 250-862-2525 to get through to us today. And so we've been talking about several things today, and most of it to do with gardening. However, we did talk a little bit about my concern about my pictures going up in the iCloud and then them sending me these collages of things that they've put together. I say they. I'm thinking it might be the Russians. Collusion. It's collusion with the Russians.
No collusion.
No collusion,
no
Ken?
Collusion.
There's no collusion.
No.
Where have I heard that before? Yeah. So I'm just not sure exactly what's going on. But if somebody can do that to little old Don Burnett with his pictures from his workshop, then I would doubt a bit that there's somebody at a high level doing some collusion with whatever,
No, it's artificial intelligence. What it is it's just the program knows what to do and it just does it automatically. Yeah, you don't have to. It just knows. It just does it at random. It's like the Facebook thing. Like Facebook does that too. That goes back automatically, goes through the past 2-3 years or the last year of your Facebook posts and puts them all together in a collage and says, would you like to post this? We put this together for you, but it's really just artificial intelligence. It just went through and picked it all and threw some random, information down, and you could say, yeah, sure, and post it, and then that's your year in review. But, it's just, And
there's things that we should be asking our wonderful controller here, David. I mean, he's a young man that knows all about artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact,
technology.
He is artificial intelligence right there. But here's a word that was never ever taught to me in grade 7.
What's that?
Algorithm.
Oh,
never heard of it. Now it's all over the place. Oh, it's an algorithm.
Do you know emoji?
Emoji. I didn't
in grade 7.
They didn't teach me emoji either.
No.
They didn't tweet. The only tweeting that went down was when I went to a young lady that was.
Yeah. That's illegal now.
You can't do that.
Can't do that now. No.
But no, it's interesting how time goes by, and of course the dictionary has to rewrite the thing every 2 years or even every year.
Oh yeah,
because all these new sayings and whatnot come up.
I think they're going to drop out a whole bunch of superfluous, letters out of words. That's going to be the new thing, so that the dictionary becomes very tiny. And it's just full of all these little abbreviated words because we don't really need the full words anymore.
It's not me, Ken. When I text, I have all the punctuation. I have all the everything in there. Like I don't cut. I don't
the proper grammar and everything.
It really bugs me, the word "there" and how it's misspelt for different reasons. THEIR and TH E-R-E and...
Like you're, that's a good one. It's
you're
spelled,
another one, yeah.
It's spelled U-R.
Yeah, yes. You know...
What, you know...
Yeah,
I think
we're going to the sewer when it comes to grammar. My Mrs. Davidson would be just turning right now.
Yeah. They dropped the O off of OK now. It's just a K. It's just a K.
Well, I'm tired of it, and I don't have to deal with it. I still put all the punctuation in all my texts, and I text with one finger. I don't do the with the two thumbs. Kids are their thumbs.
You put in all the letters in every word.
Every word, every letter. I got the apostrophes in. I got the commas, and I do. I
guess then they put a cost on every word every letter you put in is a cost. Even a space has a cost. So you see, the shorter you make it, the cheaper
pay
your
for
text. Yeah, every one, every letter costs you. So that's why the language is changing. More people that talk on texting, it's shrinking those words down to, it used to be O-K-E-Y, now it's just a K. Because you get it. Do you get it? It's like when we talk about plants, plant names, and these botanical names are so hard to remember and
I was
whatnot.
Just thinking of that too.
If you blurt out a name and you're trying to talk about a specific plant, and you're pronouncing it incorrectly or whatever, but somebody gets it. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Then you're successful. You did it. That's great. And so that's now, because those names are typically a little more difficult.
Do you think an Easter lily and a daylily are related, other than way back? I mean,
no, I don't think so.
Not the same genus, is it? Hemeroclus and Liliaceum.
Yeah.
I mean, they're two Lilium. They're just two different genus, and yet, as a common thing, they're called lilies. Mm-hmm. Easter lily,
daylily,
and daylily.
Common names, yeah. They don't really.
That's right.
Common names.
And this is what I'm saying. This texting languages that the kids I use the word kids. I've seen older people falling into that trap too. Using their thumbs.
It's a wicked trap.
But if you fall into it at 60, your thumbs are not going to have a genetic effect on the next generation.
You notice the kids these days, their thumbs are pointed.
They're pointed, and they're starting to grow. And when they have kids, their kids' thumbs are going to be half again as big. And before you know it, people are going to have thumbs the same size as their fingers because they're using them on the text all the time, texting. Yeah. So there you go. I think after that dribble, I think we should take another break here for the first show. Aren't you happy to be here? The first show, David, for first show of the year? Yeah.
Yeah.
And 250-862-2525. I'm not even going to hand the number out anymore, but I just did. But anyway, we're going to be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. It is Don Burnett, Ken Salvail at your service, the Flower Pot Men. You ever see that show, Ken, way back in the day? It was from Britain. It was called Bill and Ben, Flower Pot Men. And they had one character on the weed. He'd come in.
Yeah.
He'd come in and mess things up. They have a little greenhouse. Look it up. It's kind of fun. I watched that as a kid, and kind of could relate to it because we had a greenhouse, lots of greenhouses, and so that's what we are. Dawn and Ken, Flower Pot Men. Here we are answering your gardening questions. How many gardening questions can we answer without the question?
Yeah.
Well, we could make them up, Ken. Let's make a couple of gardening questions up, okay? Okay, Ken, what do the three numbers on the bag of fertilizer mean? What do they mean? Explain to those. You always see a bag of fertilizer that's 10, 15, 10, 10, 20, 30. What do they mean?
Sorry.
Look at that dead air. There's nothing like dead air on the radio. There's nothing worse than dead air.
Minor comedy relief there. Yeah, well, no, it's a good question, and it's something that's really important for people to know because it's percentages, right? Percentages of each of the major three nutrients. Mm-hmm. Three nutrients that are on the bag are the three nutrients that plants use more than any other nutrients. They're the ones that are most important. All the little micronutrients and stuff that exist in the background and on the back of the bag sometimes, or in the fine print on the back, those things occur quite naturally in nature, and they're around, especially if there's any compost around, because compost has this sort of a full gamut of these micronutrients. And so they're less important, but the most important ones that plants use more than anything are the top three, which are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. NPK, and that's the order that they're on the bag, and it'll say 20% nitrogen, 10% phosphorus, and 20% potassium. And so those three nutrients are just the top three, and the most important of the three is nitrogen, and that's why they put it first. And that's all plants. They use more nitrogen than anything else, and nitrogen is volatile. It's hard to keep it around, so even out of those, those three top nutrients, nitrogen is beyond. Would you
say that nitrogen is as important to plants as oxygen is to us?
Oh, well, yeah, the plants can't exist without nitrogen. For sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, it can't actually exist without any of those nutrients, but it's just that nutrients like even phosphorus and potassium that occur naturally in the soil, those things can be readily available at all times as rock or as pulverized dust and gravel and in silt and in clay. They can exist in there, but the nitrogen is the one that's volatile, and it may or may not exist, but it's a critical part.
And if there's four numbers, the fourth number is sulfur.
Sulfur would be number 4, you bet.
Now, we are going back to the phone lines. Good morning. We're going to the phone lines. We've got Sandy. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Sandy.
Have you ever seen a gold Christmas cactus?
A golden one.
The leaves or the flowers?
The flowers.
Oh, the flowers? I've seen yellow ones.
Yeah, yellow, and I guess it could go on to the gold if it's darker. But, I
was given one lots of years ago. It was by an older lady, and I promptly overwatered it and killed it. Didn't know if there was any more around.
They're not very common, though.
No, not common.
I would love to have one. I like to have some different colored Christmas cactus, but
Ken and I were going to actually ask you for a cutting, but when you said killed it,
no, I killed it very fast.
Yeah,
I still have my yellow geranium though.
Oh, which one is that?
It's like a European one with the tiny little flowers.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and it's yellow.
Yellow geranium.
Not common.
Not common. Yeah, I need a cutting of that, Sandy. By the way,
you will probably get one.
Okay. Wow, there you go.
So I have a Hoya. It's got huge, long vines.
Yep.
And I need to deal with that.
Well, that's a poor complaint because long vines. It's usually an asset.
But it's taking up a lot of space.
Well, then I'll just cut it.
Yeah, well, I can tell you what I did because I had this little. I start from the root system, which was a little ball of soil, approximately 4 inches tall by about 12 inches across, and it was like a solid piece of rock because it was so old. And then the plant was about 24 inches wide, but hung down about 4 feet. And it was an absolute mass. So you couldn't, the thing weighed like, I would say 35 pounds, 45 pounds. But it wasn't the soil that weighed so much. It was just sheer bulk plant. So when spring came, because when spring is the time you do the cutting back of most of these things, I just literally took my shears and cut all the way around the outer part of that pot and cut off everything off the top. So I turned it into sort of a little ball-shaped plant within the pot. Then I took it out, repotted it into a new, because it was easier to handle then, right? I could take it out of the basket. And then I put it into a new pot. And then I trained it upright onto a little metal trellis upright. And there you go. And the plant was so happy because now it had this, like, even though the root system was kind of compromised being in this little thing, now it had a decent root system. And the thing is,
they like to be root bound, though, don't they?
I don't know about the like part, but they do have the air plant sort of quality to them where they live in the tropical jungles where there's a lot of humidity normally. And
they definitely bloom better if they're tight pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had them blooming quite nicely for, well, not this year yet, but last year they bloomed and bloomed and bloomed.
Yeah, when you cut them back, that whole thing is delayed it'll take another year or two before they kick back into blooming again.
Yeah, because the vines I've just got wrapped round and round in circles, and they're just laying across the counter, and
probably 35
they basically
pounds.
take the whole counter up.
Yeah, and you can just at random snip off those long runners. That's one way of doing it, and keeping some of your old wood that's there, because the older wood generally will stimulate the sort of the new shoots that have the flowers on them. So so you can just like pick up one of those long stems or runners and follow it all the way back to the plant. Snip it off at about 4 inches long.
But they're round and round. I don't know how I would follow it back.
That's why I cut mine off.
Surgery, Sandy.
I just went through the thing and hacked it off, and it was funny after I went around the pot once, and I thought, well, I don't know, how many times this thing had gone over the top of the pot and down the other side, and here I just chopped it. And then I realized after I'd cut it and I grabbed a piece of the plant and like half of it came out of my hand. That was actually, it grew out of the pot, down, and then back up and across the pot, and then had formed this huge plant. So as soon as I cut that.
I do that with my Mandevilla sometimes. I think, this part is dead. And I went, but the end is green.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, Sandy, good luck, and I don't want to watch.
Well, I've been faithfully pruning all the little runners off my Mandevillas this year, so they don't get all tangled around everything else. Every once in a while, I just come out and pinch aphids and cut the tops off my Mandevillas. And hopefully this summer, then they didn't bloom outside at all until I brought them back in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's maybe a seasonal thing too.
Yeah.
But just don't put them out. Yeah, don't put them out too early because they really, they're sensitive.
Yeah, you've got the surgeon involved. Now you get the therapist for the Mandevilla. We're gonna take another call, Sandy. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Right.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay. And so now we're going to Ariel. Good morning.
Good morning. You two guys are killing me, so I had to call in and make you happy by a call.
Well, there you go. How'd you make out with your bonsai, or not your bonsai? The bonsai.
That was really interesting because my name went from one person to another person to another person until finally I talked to the president, and he told me when the meeting was, and they're going to email me about the meetings, et cetera.
Oh, perfect. So I think you'll enjoy that. Yep.
I think I am too. I ordered from Stokes a package of zinnias, Ben Aries Giant Mix. Mm-hmm. And the reason I did was because I planted zinnias last year. I got a free packet from Lee Valley, and I could not believe how much of a show. I mean, I had a 10-foot long space in front of my window here, and they just came up like, 3 feet. Yeah. And they were beautiful. But when do you put the little seeds in the little pots?
Well, with zinnias, they grow so fast that you don't have to get them going too early, but it's usually around the end of March or early April.
Yeah, I do have that. Yeah. I'm going to just get my seed.
And just remember this, that there's so many different types of zinnias, and most of the ones that are grown in the garden centers are these shorter dwarfer varieties, but the ones that you grow from seed, that you can buy from seed, are the big giant ones, the 3-footers.
Yeah.
And I like those best. I think
I do too. They were fabulous. Everybody commented. They all wanted to come down and cut them.
Yeah. And, we picked up some from a dollar store, and they just had, zinnia seeds. And it was like, what kind of zinnias? I said, well, it doesn't really say. So we took those seeds, and, they were so beautiful. And some were doubles and singles in all different colors. But they were all about 3 feet high and just awesome.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing that this year. And I got something for my little kitty cat, and it's a special kind of, it's called Cat Time. It's Tucrium marum, and I've got these little seeds, and I don't, it wasn't specific. I mean, there's no directions in the package at all about when to plant them and where to plant them, even.
Right. Well, it's hard to say with the name that you've given us there. It's we know it's not one of the standard sort of cat mint varieties, or is it a type of cat grass? Is that what it is?
It's more than catnip. It's actually better than catnip, and cats seem to like it better even than catnip, because I put catnip I've grown it out in the garden and brought it in, and he just turns his nose up at it.
Right.
And I think there's another name for it called silver vine or something like that. Silver vine, like silver vine. I think that's the name of it in English.
Right.
But I sort of thought, well, I better ask you guys whereabouts to put it. Shall I put it in a pot?
Yes.
Do you think I should put it in a pot out in the garden?
Yeah, I would start with it in a pot so that you can sort of get a feeling of how aggressive it is. Because some of these things that if they're really aggressive, you keep them in pots and you just grow them on the deck. And generally, all you have to do is water them, occasionally fertilize them, and they grow like crazy. The cat will sometimes come up and eat it right off the plant. That's the only minor issue. But sometimes if you put it into the garden, number one is we have to know, will it survive a winter? Is it winter hardy, or is it going to just die? Is it an annual, or is it, let's say, a more zoned for like coastal growing? So we have to learn a little bit about that. And so if we did put it in the ground, it turns out to be sort of an invasive species, so something that just runs everywhere. Then it becomes a weed in the garden, and then
Okay.
we have to be careful, releasing things into the garden. We have enough weeds already, right?
Well, this particular thing is spelled Teucrium, Teucrium marum, marum, and it's a very difficult seed to get. Stokes didn't have it, and other places didn't. I had to get these from France.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Okay. Getting back to the zinnia, I just pulled up my chart here. We're going to have to take a short break pretty quick here, but getting back to the chart, the dwarf zinnias, there's dwarf zinnias, tall zinnias. They're suggesting that you, they germinate very quickly. They're only about 3-4 days in the germination chamber. And so if it takes 3 days, 6 days, it takes another. You want to start. You want to start getting your seeds for zinnias planted about early to mid-March in the little containers, and then you'll have a nice summer crop.
Okay, and then when do you put them out?
Well, after the danger of frost, they don't want to get cold. The zinnias, they're a heat lover. They're like a tomato.
Yeah, around the end of May would be about probably the earliest, and then sometimes we aim for 1st of June just to be safe, depending on what's going on out in the weather.
Terrific, thank you very much.
Ariel, thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Happy New Year to you.
Okay. You too. Bye.
Take care. We're going to take another short break. Be the last break of the first show of the year of 2019, show number 1004, and we're going to take that short break. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Okay, I'm messing around with iCloud right now, trying to figure out why all my photographs got displayed in a thing without my permission. Mind you, like Ken said, if I give them permission, then everybody's going to see them, and I don't want to do that. Not that I'm hiding anything, but there's some very uninteresting, stuff going on. Yeah. So we've got just a few minutes left on the show. Again, I want to just express our thoughts and prayers for Charlie Hodge, our buddy who's in the hospital right now. And, we will wait till he gets out and back on the council seat. He's a fighter. He'll be fine. We're going to make sure of that. And Tez, his beautiful wife, is with him and taking care of him as she always does. And she's a giant. She's an angel. She's one of Charlie's angels. Yep. And so that'll be a good thing. We are, we talked today. We had a nice chat. We talked about the Stokes seed catalog, and there's lots of other Stokes or lots of other seed catalogs around, not just Stokes. That's one of the major ones, but that's the one I like to deal with. Kind of dealt with them there was another one we dealt with, Ball's Seed Company, which isn't available to the homeowner.
Yeah.
And some seed companies are strictly homeowner seed companies that sell packets of seed.
Yep.
Then you have Stokes and Dominion, the two large Canadian seed houses that sell packs right through to as I was saying before, if you're buying 500,000 onion seeds, you can get them for a better deal,
Yeah, and then those suppliers who are wholesale suppliers like Gelito seeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gelito is probably the biggest, but they don't. I don't think they do any edibles. They only do
Flower.
ornamental plants. Yeah, but they are amazing, all from Germany.
Yeah,
and it's.
And there are other seed companies that all they do is sell grasses, for ornamental grasses, for instance.
Yeah,
but Ken, just one thing on grasses. I've always sort of thought if you can buy seed for an ornamental grass, then chances are that ornamental grass could be a little bit invasive.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you buy seeds for ornamental grasses, you're not buying calamagrosis, you're not buying miscanthus.
No, that hardy pampas grass is one, Erianthus rivani.
Yeah.
It's that's one you can buy seed for, and it grows like 100%. Like we've grown pretty much not every type of perennial, but say 4,000 of the common varieties, and definitely that was one of the easiest seeds to grow. So I always was a little nervous about planting that into landscapes. So I always thought it would start showing up, and it's not like a tiny little plant.
No.
It's a little harmless little grass that grows about 15 feet tall. So.
Yeah. So you got to be careful, and also when you're buying ornamental grasses and you see them shooting up like crazy, like quackgrass around the edge of the pot, that's another indication that they might
be spreading by roots.
Travel a bit by roots.
There's clumping forms and spreading forms. Yeah. And spreading forms are great for mass plantings, but you generally need a root barrier to contain them. And then the other ones, which are clump forming, they all come from one central area, and they need dividing. Most of the grasses you see in the ornamental plant world and the more highly recommended ones are all clump forming.
There you go. Last bit of valuable information on the garden show today. This was the 1004th garden show on this particular station, and we are proud to be here, and we are just going to give our tips and plants of the week, and then we're out of here. So my tip of the week is to browse through the seed catalogs to see what's new and exciting, and there's all sorts of new and exciting things every year. So do that, and my plant of the week is one more Christmas cactus. It's my last one of the year, and it's a beauty. I wish you could see it, folks. I should maybe post it on my website.
Sure.
Anyway, there you go. So that's my tips and plants.
All right, and my tip of the week is that now that the weather's actually quite nice, it's a good time to go out and take some pictures and do some planning of your garden, only because this is a kind of a downtime in a way. Still a little bit of gardening to do, but it's a great time for planning for the next year. So enjoy that. And also, the new perennial plant of the year for 2019 has been announced. And now that we're here, it's Stachys humello. And this is a low plant. Stachys family is like the lamb's ear family, and very, very easy to grow. And it's not a fuzzy leaf variety. It's just a green leaf variety, but it has beautiful blooms very prolifically through the summertime. It's a good plant, and so that's why they nominate it. So plant of the year for 2019, Stachys humello. Remember to check KelownaGardens.com.
And Ken, that's pretty much the end of the first show of the year for 2019. What you got coming up, we're going to expand on your deer-proof plants as we go through the time. I'm going to have a book of the week. We're going to, of course, have some certain guests on. We're going to have some guests on. And just a reminder, if you want to join us on that trip to Seattle, you better get some tickets or get your bus pass now. And that is at Sun Fun Tours, and you can just look them up on the internet or give Ken and I a call. We'll help you there. My Shigo quote of the week, because that'll carry on too. No shortage of Shigo quotes. It's amazing. This one's kind of cool. To start a person thinking is like starting a jet engine. Now they both can fly. You want to keep thinking, Ken, and that's what it's all about.
You betcha.
And we wish everyone out there a Happy New Year, and we'll be back next week with more AM 1150 Garden Show.